Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, find those really crucial bits of knowledge, and help you get properly informed, without all the noise. Today, we're diving into something pretty interesting, the world of embellishment, truth, and the surprising power of small details, really small details.
Yeah.
Yeah, our insights for this one come from excerpts of a piece called The Art of Embellishment, Truth and Detail. And our mission for you listening is to kind of explore this question in a world that's, well, obsessed with the whole truth. Maybe the real power isn't telling everything. Maybe it's mastering the nuance, knowing what to say, what to leave out. The source calls these things secret sauces, those little additions or maybe omissions that change everything, how we see things. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah. And what's really helpful, I think, is how the source clarifies what embellish actually means. It's not necessarily, making stuff up completely. It's more about making something appealing, maybe more memorable or attractive by adding, well, fanciful or decorative details. It's that little touch-up that elevates something rather than just inventing it wholesale.
That distinction feels really important. It's subtle, but it makes me wonder, why are we so susceptible to these kinds of stories? Why do our brains seem to prefer the slightly touched up version?
That's a great question. And the source suggests it taps right into our cognitive biases. See, embellishments, especially like well-placed details, they make a story more vivid, more emotionally resonant. Our brains, they're just wired for stories. And a story with those rich, specific details, even if they're, boosted a little, it's just more engaging, easier to remember. Think about it. Like when you're telling a story to friends, you give the basics, sure, but it's those specific, quirky details that give it punch, right? They get the real laugh. The book even talks about how just one perfectly timed detail can turn some boring story into like a really captivating anecdote, something you actually remember years later.
Yeah, that paints a really clear picture how those specific details create that secret sauce you mentioned, makes it stick. But what about the flip side? Does the source get into how the absence of detail, maybe even omitting something tiny, can be just as powerful?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The book talks about what it calls white lies, but not in the sense of, outright fabrications. It's more like details that are, well, left hidden. It's a kind of selective sharing, right? Like in court, for example, a single fact left out, a detail that's deliberately kept hidden. It can completely change how a jury sees the evidence, leads to totally different outcomes. It's not about what's said necessarily, but what's implied by what's missing, which really speaks to that powerful idea of framing what you include and what you leave out. That sets the lens, basically.
Okay, so adding details builds a story, makes it compelling. Leaving them out can reframe how we see things. So what does this all mean for us, just trying to navigate the world? Because the source makes a pretty bold claim here. It says that being able to spot specific details and then I guess use them strategically, that's one of the most powerful abilities in the world. It says it can change fates, turn a bad moment good, or the other way around. That feels like a huge statement for something as small as a detail.
It does sound grand, yeah. But when you connect it back to how stories, how narratives are built, it actually starts to make a lot of sense. The source gives examples like, apparently there was this single overlooked comma in a contract. Nearly took down a whole company, just a comma. Or, on the other side, think about a negotiation. A minor detail, something that seems totally insignificant, gets brought up, and it just completely shifts the power dynamic. It's all about influence, isn't it? Perception. Understanding that truth. Well, as the source puts it quite nicely, truth wears no makeup, but everyone still wants to give it a touch-up. Just knowing that helps us become much more critical, more aware of how information comes at us and, frankly, how we present it ourselves. It's about shaping outcomes.
And that really brings us towards the end of this deep dive. We've looked at how specific details, or maybe the calculated lack of them, can profoundly change a story or a crucial moment,
Right.
or, even the outcome of something big, like a legal case. Recognizing detail, using it strategically, it's not just presented as some clever trick. It's highlighted as this really powerful ability, something that can genuinely change paths.
Yeah, it's really crucial, I think, for us to grasp that truth is, well, constantly being touched up. And like we said, this isn't always about, outright lying. Often it's just about presentation, about emphasis. The human tendency to shape information for impact, right? For good or bad. Understanding this just makes you a more discerning receiver of information, less easily swayed by those subtle nudges, and probably a more effective communicator yourself at the end of the day.
So for your final thought, we want you to kind of hold on to an image the source uses. It's a person pointing at a goldfish, right? And they're saying, it was this big, with their hands stretched like 4 feet apart. How often do you actually encounter that? Or maybe even do it yourself, those subtle embellishments in just daily life. And what impact do those tiny details, those carefully chosen or carefully omitted secret sauces, what impact do they really have on the stories you tell, the reality you perceive, and the outcomes you experience?